Thank you so much. And I would like to invite Professor Emeritus Klaas van Egmond from Netherlands, the author of a book, Homo Universalis, and also the Klaas will tell us why Bildung is so urgent now.
Thank you very much. 5 or 10 minutes, just in the same line of thought as Lena was presenting a few moments ago. Our two presentations match very well. The why it's important and this educational issue. In the first place, I wanted to give a first answer to the question what it means to be human. In the first place, for me, that means that we have to be to answer that question, to be aware of our human nature. Human nature is a key issue in my whole work and thinking. The word aware is already on the keyboard, on the whiteboard, as discussed earlier many times during this day. Second is that we have to recognize when we are looking at our human nature that we are a species with, as far as we can see around us, the highest level of consciousness. And that in the third place brings about the fact that we have to accept our responsibility in the whole system, human and nature, the earth, of what's going on here. So that responsibility is an important issue. Apparently, all these things are going back to the idea, the issue of human nature. And human nature is, of course, a huge question which we are looking for millennia altogether. But the good news is that when you are looking at these things, then there appears to be an enormous amount of consensus about what our human nature actually is. When you are looking in history, what happens there, we'll come back to that, but also in philosophy, in religion, in science, in psychology and anthropology, in all these sciences and experiences, there is a same idea. The same holds for indigenous knowledge. Earlier today, this afternoon and this early morning, there were very nice discussions about indigenous knowledge and science. And that brings about, and also from China, ideas about Buddhism and this kind of religions. They all brought about the same ideas on what our human nature is. It was about yin-yang equilibrium. It was about all sorts of opposites, the feminine versus the masculine, etc. And well, that then defines the idea of human nature. For human nature is given by the fact that we apparently are, as human beings, in between our human condition. That means to say that we are having a mind and a physical body. We are having an ego and we are confronted with the others. We are an individual and we are living in society. And then we are just along the discussion which was started by Lene a few moments ago, that there are these different things we are defined by. And you might also say, apart from mind versus matter or the individual versus the collective, you might say that it is about the emotional versus the rational. And apparently the whole story she told is about the balance between the two. You only can be free is the crucial core idea when you are able to maintain the balance in between them. To quote Jung, the great psychologist, he was saying that we still have to be aware of both. So you have to be aware of your emotional aspects as well as your rational ones, and only then humans can be free. Well, that doesn't work out in practice and in history. For all the time, we are falling apart in either the emotional part of our being, or the spiritual part also might be, or in our material, physical part. That's in our times. We are obsessed with material things, or we are too rational, one-sided rational, which, for example, happened during the last centuries of the Enlightenment, when we were fond of technology and we are trying to solve our problems with technology alone. that doesn't work out. In this equilibrium between all these qualities we have, also there is an idea which I want to introduce, given the fact that Elena was talking about Schiller and beauty. In the work of Plato, this whole idea of human nature and its integrity, its consistence, is also dealing about the threefold idea of the good, truth, and beauty. And the good is an orientation where we are maintaining that equilibrium, the balance we were talking about. Truth is about having both the individual observation and the universal theory. Again, having it both in your scheme. When one of the two is falling out, there is catastrophe, for truth doesn't longer exist. And very interesting, beauty is indeed, you can define it by Schiller, who was also writing very nice books about the role of the beauty thing, the arts, culture, in that the idea of human nature, in the sense that the art and culture is the reflection of the spiritual in the material. By having paintings, by having music, we can perceive the elements of our spiritual part of being. And as a given from that condition, the beautiful conditions, the arts culture is one of the forces which brings our human nature to a consistent whole. Okay, that having said about our human nature, so it's very important to know what our human nature is. And then my view on education is just that we have to learn younger people to look at the whole. The big danger in history, as I told you, was that we were just derailing in our orientation, in our value orientation, falling to one side of our human nature, for example, the materialist side or the individualist, one-sided. That is catastrophe. So the only way to build a better society is learning young people to be aware of the idea of human nature, of the mechanisms behind, and on maintaining equilibrium in there. Having all these elements, the emotional and the rational, the material and the spiritual, all these kind of aspects together in their mind. I'm always struck by the book Island of Aldous Huxley. In that book, Huxley is giving a nice example of Bildung. He's saying there that these school children over there on this island are on Monday they are learning mathematics and physics. On Tuesday they are zooming out and they are looking at the huge interactions, the whole of what is there, the interactions and the overall system. And on the next Wednesday they're having again physics and mathematics, etc. So by zooming in and zooming out, we are learning to work in detail on this earth, but on the same time oversee the whole of our human nature. And in doing so, we are able to deduce from that human nature system, maintaining equilibrium, which is equivalent with restoring a moral framework. And well, if there is one thing we have to do, certainly in Europe, President Macron was calling for a new moral framework, saying that we don't have an ethics anymore. Philosophers like McIntyre, for example, are saying that since the Renaissance, we don't have a consistent moral framework, only some fragments of earlier systems. So this whole Bildung thing has one big target, to my opinion, and that's understanding our human nature, and from there restoring a moral framework. And that then can result in very concrete measures. When we are looking at all the concrete issues at this moment which are going on in Europe, all these troublesome developments, I am convinced that it's possible to restructure that with concrete measures to change that. For example, and that's my last remark, given the idea that the financial system is at the core of what's going on in our financial economic driven world, one-sidedly. That is the caricature of our time is in the financial system. So following Aristotle, we have to change that caricature in restoring the balance in our human nature system. So we have to do something about the financial system. So what we have done over the last few years is making model-based proposals about another financial system in the European Union, about the euro, which allows all the other things which has to change in Europe can be made possible by just changing the financial system as a concrete example of what this new moral framework would bring us. Thank you so far.